is what you got for me.
Durag Diaries, yo, what's good, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Savva and Jords. Let's talk Tottenham, and more importantly, let's talk transfers. Let's talk transfers. Big up to everybody that's inside. Big up to Savva for the raid and everybody that's came over from Savva's channel. You guys are an amazing community. I can see everybody coming over with the Savva raid straight away. Big up to everyone that's coming from there. Make sure you drop a like on the video on your way in. Savva is here to join us now, people. Big up to Savva. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. Oh, I look massive. Oh,
yeah, I know. I've changed the format.
Okay.
I've been doing this format on some channels recently. I'm like, oh, do you know what? I like this. It's just big.
Okay.
It takes up the screen. It's
okay. Let me just
different.
see if I can stretch my lines out of my head. Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late, but I did bring some friends, a few hundred friends with me. So hopefully I'm forgiven.
How are you? Very, very welcome, man. No, I'm good though. How are you been? It's obviously been it's been a little bit of a busy morning in the life of Spurs. I'm seeing a lot of news come out. There's been a lot of news come out.
Loads of videos about shirt numbers. I mean, it's very exciting. Very exciting. Yeah.
I've only actually managed to see two of them. I've only seen the Palhinha one, the Dragusin one. So I'm sure we'll get round to that. But what I was actually doing this morning, I was going to ask you, did you watch any of the Daniel Levy interview, Savva?
I watched all of it yesterday morning. Yeah.
What did you make of it? Because we done a live reaction to it on the stream today, this morning. Now, I felt like the majority of it was just a lot of, just chairman stuff. They're just asking questions. Seemed like Gary Neville was trying to get some advice on some things, like that type of things. And then it was like the final 10 minutes was the only bit where you actually learned a bit about Spurs, the process, and what's going on currently.
Yeah, I think with things like that, I always look at it and go, right, first of all, what were Spurs fans hoping for? So like when it was announced, oh my God, Levy's on the overlap. I think people think that what they're going to get out of that is like a chairman masterclass, and he's going to bring out all the spreadsheets with how much money we've spent and who we're going to buy. That Daniel Levy is a billionaire businessman for a reason, right? He knows not to give too much away. Yep. I've got a feeling he's probably said, what is that? He's probably said a lot more. Sorry, the dog's just got the shower tray thing. Oh my God. I reckon he's probably said a lot more, but I've got a feeling it would have had to go to Spurs for editing, for them to say, yes, you can release that. No, you can't. But genuinely, were you expecting anything? Were you expecting to find out anything you didn't know?
No, I think that's the thing for me. I didn't expect to find anything. I just thought maybe he might give a bit more of an insight into, the sacking of Ange, maybe how we got Frank, the process to choose Frank. But it was all stuff that we pretty much already knew. And to be honest, me and my viewers felt like a lot of it sounded rehearsed. Like even some of it looked like he'd done multiple takes for some of the things that he said. Like it sounded all too perfect the way it come out. Of course I want Spurs to win trophies. We've been trying to do that our whole time. And it's like, hey, what?
But it's the same with anything, right? Like whenever I've gone and done filming, it's never in one take, right? Like the number of times they go, right, sorry guys, let's do that again, start that again. Yeah, no, I'll edit. You see the producer sitting there going, yeah, I can edit that bit out. Oh, what do you need again? So like, let me give you an example. Have you seen like when I debate the deluded Gooner and that on the Sun? So when you see the captions of us hitting the button, right? Those captions of us hitting the button aren't actually in real time. So what they do is we have the debate, and then afterwards they go, right, we just need to get a few stills. Savva, if you could now hit it slowly with your right hand, bit quicker with your right hand, now really hard, now with your left hand. Now, could you look that way and smile? Could you look that way and do this? Could you look that way and go like that? And then they piece it all together. So look, I get the feeling, I thought that was the only thing that he said that I think made sense was when he was talking about Ange and why he went. Made sense.
Yeah, no, I did feel like that part of it. I was like, no. The funny thing is like when he mentioned Ange, it's like he didn't want to speak about him because his head went down and there was like a little 4 or 5 second period where he looked like completely blanked out of the interview. It was like Ange, like shit, been caught here. What do I need to say? And he sat there for a moment reflect. Like, oh wait, I know, I've got the script. Let's click back into the mode. And he knows what he's going to say for that. And, you know, I think he held himself really well. And there's some good points, I think, and that Levy actually made about the sustainability of the models and how I feel like the regulations for the Premier League need to look a lot closer into the multi-club ownership stuff, because I feel like it's not scrutinized enough. We've been seeing, especially this transfer window, it seems to be bigger than anything. But all these clubs move players around to their clubs are part of their ownership group. And to me, it's just like a whole little money laundering scheme. You see, especially when you saw what was happening with, now, I don't know if you've seen, Marinakis is now buying some type of stake into Botafogo, who's also owned by John Textor, and they're basically working together on deals, because Leon have bought players from Botafogo. Botafogo's got players to Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest got players at Leon. And it's all like players are moving around this little triangle of owners who are all just seem to be working together. And it's really strange. Really strange stuff.
Yeah, I find that really funny as well. You think because John Textor and Marinakis are the two that were at the heart of the problem with the Europa League qualification,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And then they're going to work together. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, look, I did find that interesting. Look, I want to say some nice things about Levy, but when you do, you get told that you're a Levy lover and a flip-flop. I think that Levy, when you see him wandering around that stadium, rightfully he's proud, right? When you see what he's built, rightfully he's proud. When he talks about, okay, we've done this without hundreds of millions being pumped in, he should be proud. But the problem is, when is that enough? When do we get to the stage? Thanks, Gary. When do we get to the stage where we go, okay, we get all that, and yes, you've built it sustainably. Yes, we've done all these wonderful things, but when is enough enough? And when do we go, right, can the sole focus of Tottenham Hotspur please be on that patch of grass? For once, can we stop worrying about Asian patisseries and beer companies and deals with Czech Republic clothing company? I don't know, whoever. Can we just say, right, Tottenham right now are in much need of some forwards, and let's go and buy them. And you know what, Jords? Then we all stop talking about Daniel Levy.
Yeah.
Because there's no need to talk about him. We go, right, okay, you bought the players. Over to you, Thomas Frank. Over to you. But we just don't do it. And I'm not doubting he's a great businessman, but is football at the forefront of his mind? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
There's a lot of questions regarding that. And I think that the last thing to point out in that interview, which was really interesting, was when the question was asked from Gary Neville whether he does get involved or feel he's too involved in the footballing decisions. And he pretty much said, no. I'm not involved in any of the transfer decisions. The managers and the technical team decide the players they want. The only point I get involved is when I go out there and try and get a deal done for a player. And he says, I do the best that I can. And if I do the best I can. I found that really funny and strange, because it's like you don't get involved, but the only part you do get involved is when it comes to negotiating. But we know that you're the man that handles the budget. If you're not happy with the budget that's going to be spent on a player, then quite clearly you're choosing not to go ahead with that player. So you have a heavy involvement on the transfers, but he tried to play it down to it being minimal. So I just negotiate the deals. I'm just a finance man type of thing.
Yeah, I think when owners and chairmen and they give interviews like that, I think it's very difficult, because whatever they say is going to be 100% scrutinized, and it's the same as anything in life, right? If you like somebody, you're going to think this about them. If you don't like them, whatever they say, you're going to think this about them. And there's that's the thing with Levy. Levy could do something brilliant, but those that hate him to the point of he is their every conversation will never give credit. Then there are those that really love him that can never put the critique on him because they really love him. And look what he's done. He's built this club. Could he have said more about, is he hands-on? I think that he would have been opening a can of worms. If he had said, yeah, I'm actually really involved in transfers, people would have gone, aha, told you, got you. So listen, I thought it was a decent 36-minute watch as a documentary style YouTube show, but I didn't watch it and go, yeah, I'm so much more clued up about Tottenham Hotspur than I was yesterday. So
That was the thing for me. I felt like I'll probably learn a little bit more from the interview. I don't feel like he said anything that we probably didn't. If us as Tottenham fans who follow us team very closely, I don't feel like he said anything that we didn't already know. He didn't really reveal anything new to us. I suppose there was just few little snippets about the stadium and stuff like that. That was probably nice to hear and get a bit of a reflection on, moving 5, 6 or 7 years down the line. But away from that, didn't really learn much. But like you said, there's not really much that you could expect from that interview. I think it's something that Levy probably didn't want to do. I think some people were saying in my chat that they felt like Vinay and Charrington probably pushed him into doing more of these interviews because it's been 2 in the last however months since they've come in, and then however many never done in the years prior to him being here. So it does look a bit strange, but it's fine. Look, Levy's coming out. He's saying these things. And to be fair, he probably did win some of the fan base over with his interviews because he's putting himself out there and he's trying to control the narrative surrounding himself and what he does. And you can't blame him.
Do you know what I've just said? I just said on my channel, and sorry for those that just come over with me, you're going to hear it again. As I've said, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's come out in 2 interviews now and said what he said.
Yeah.
I've got the taste. After winning the Europa League, I've got the taste for it. I will back the manager to the best of my ability. Yeah. I want to win leagues and Champions Leagues. Okay, cool. You've said that twice. Now you've got 27 days of this transfer window left to show everyone that it wasn't all talk. Now, Jords, I'm not expecting Spurs to go and buy players that win us the league. I'm not. I'm not an idiot, right? I'm not expecting us to compete for Alexander Isak. We're not going to hijack that deal. What I am expecting is go and build a team that gives the manager the best chance to finish in the top 5, 6. Because at the moment, I just don't think we're there, and I don't think we're a million miles away from it, Jords. I genuinely don't. But it's up to Daniel Levy now to make that happen. If he doesn't, the scrutinization on the 1st of September for that man is going to be crazy. If he doesn't back this manager, the scrutiny is going to be mad.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be huge. And to be fair, literally going off the back of that, today we have seen quite a bit of news regarding transfer. I know me and Savva were messaging yesterday. It's like, mate, I need some news to drop. We need something to talk about in this show. It's a transfer show. We need some stuff to come out.
Just quickly, can I just say what Ornstein's just said?
Go on.
So Ornstein just said that breaking news: Man United have made their offer now officially to Leipzig, 75 million euros plus 10 million euros.
That's slightly less, isn't it?
No. Newcastle went in. Hang on, it says here.
Then they go with 80 plus 5 or something. I think Newcastle done.
Oh, okay, right. So they've gone 80 million euros plus 5. These have gone 75 plus 10.
Yeah.
Gee. I'll tell you what, Sesko
that's mental. That's mind games right there. Mind games from Man United.
Do you know what? Fair play to them. I want to see that we're in for. I want to see that we're offering 75 million plus 5 million for someone. Where's our bid for these players? Sorry.
No. It's a good point. And do you know what? To just say what Man United are doing there, I don't think it's a bad thing. What Man United are doing is using their power of their club, power of the pool, and they're letting people know that, like, we don't need to offer the same money as Newcastle. We don't need to offer the same terms because the player's probably going to choose them. The one reason that I do think that he might actually make that choice to Man United as well is Newcastle made their bid last night. If he really wanted that Newcastle team, it would have been wrapped up over the night. It would have been like, oh yeah, he's gone to Newcastle. They're pushing. They've been the team that pushed him. I think that he's been waiting.
Did Leipzig accept the bid?
It's a weird one. They said that they're pushing closer to accepting. It's like the deal is, when they say the deal is advancing, it's coming closer to terms being agreed. But what I think is the fee is fine. I think they're just figuring out everything else though. It's just for the actual fee, they wanted 85 million pretty much, or 80 million guaranteed, and then whatever onwards, which is a lot.
If Newcastle's record signing ends up being like 20 million more than Tottenham Hotspurs, we've got to start asking questions. We really have, haven't we? Considering they've been nowhere near us for decades. But hey, good luck to them. I've got this feeling, he's going to end up at United, and Newcastle fans are going to see yet another player reject them.
And that's exactly what I've said. I feel like Newcastle are just going to see another player reject them. And it's hard, it's tough, innit? Because you can also always, when you're going into a battle for a player with Man United, like we saw as well when we went in for Mbomo, it's hard to compete with Man United for players. The pull and just the global aspect of playing for Man United is massive for a lot of players, especially ones that weren't born in England. Like just knowing that that's the biggest club in the world that you could play for. It's tough.
Well, Romano's just said this. So he said that Man U have submitted an official bid for 85 million euro package with add-ons included. He said Man U's move follows Newcastle's 90 million euro package bid on Monday. So Man U have gone 5 million lower. But this is where it gets interesting with transfers, because if the player, it's almost irrelevant, that 5 million, because if the player chooses Man United, are Leipzig going to go, nah, we're turning down 85 million euros because there's 90 million euros there, but he doesn't want to go there? I don't think they do. I think he goes on one of these two bids.
Exactly that. I reckon it goes to a case of it. And to be fair, let's have it right. It is only 5 million. If they do reject Man United's offer, but he's made it very clear to Man United, I'm pretty sure his agents and team will talk to Man United and say, look, just match Newcastle's offer and you get the player. And it's usually pretty simple as that. Over 5 million euros, I don't think Man United are going to make too much of a fuss. We've seen what happened with Mbomo and Cunha. They kept bidding lower, about 10 million below, and then they ended up paying the valuation that both Brentford and Wolves wanted anyway.
But how embarrassing for a club like Spurs, right? If Man United, who didn't get any European football, we're told they need to sell to buy. How embarrassing if they go out before they've sold anyone and spend 65 million on Mbuemo, 65 million on Cunha, and then 85 million euros, which is what, 75 million quid on Sesko. So if I'm not wrong, if my maths works, that's 200 million pounds on a strike force.
Yeah, that's I was just saying that to Cass before. I was saying, you man are looking at having 200 million pound strike force with that. Like, Amram has no excuses now. Like last year, the problem was the attack. It wasn't the defense. You have no excuse when you spend 200 million pound on a fresh attack, 3 starting players. I'm saying they have to perform. Now it's a lot of pressure.
I do like it.
I love it. Yeah. I do like it.
Sesko, for me, I think he's a wonderful hold-up player. I think he will score more goals, but him with Cunha and Mbuemo all around him, I'm jealous. And then I look at ours and I'm like, oh, what? What? How have we got what we've got? And 1 game a week, Jords.
Yeah.
1 game a week.
Yeah, they're in a very strong position for that 1 game a week to really push on and make sure that they are going to qualify for Champions League with that, because there's no excuse as to why they won't. Those players will have a lot of pressure on them. And like I said, I think what I like about that front three, got Cunha and Mbuemo who can play on either side and both very comfortable behind the striker. But more than anything, they're goal scorers. So they take that pressure off Sesko, where he doesn't need to score as many goals because he knows he's got 2 senior players next to him and probably going to have more pressure on them. And he'll just fill in every now and then. He's a tall player. He can, if they're going to be working those crosses into him, like we saw last year, Dorgu and Dallo just whipping in cross after cross after cross. You got a player like Sesko to be on the end of them, a proper target man. He's going to pick up goals as well. So Man United are going to be dangerous. They're going to be a dangerous team to watch. But I think the one thing that will hurt them, like we saw in the first season of Ange, is because you're only playing 1 game a week, it takes a period for those players to really gel and find that togetherness, that chemistry, because they're only playing 1 game a week.
With Bruno Fernandes still there, with Sesko, with Cunha and Mbuemo, the number of GA across that 4 is frightening. And now you look at the number of GA across ours with Sonny going, Maddison and Kulu injured. Those 3 last year, by the way, 67 GA. I don't want to depress you, Jords, on your channel.
It's a lot. Because I've been looking at I looked into it myself, Savva, and I was getting, when I look at that attack, just those front 3, forget even assists, I'm looking at it and I'm saying that's 40 goals. You could probably guess that they're going to get around 40 goals together. And that's not me overhyping.
United's front 3?
Yeah, that's Cunha getting 15, which he got last year, and Mbuemo getting 15, which is less than what he got last year, and Sesko getting 10. Like, that's very
mate, I'll go as far as I reckon they get 50-55 between them. I truly do. I think this is the thing. Yes, by the way, I'm not just ignoring their midfield or defensive issue. By the way, Man U weren't actually dreadful at the back last year. I think everyone says they were, but they didn't concede that many. When you've got that front 3 and you've got the ammunition of Bruno. Whatever people think of Bruno, and I know the United fans have this love-hate relationship with him, he is an assist merchant. He is a goal merchant. If you look at that front four, when Man United go forward, it might not be the prettiest, but that four, when they transition, no defense is going to want to play against that. If I'm Bruno Fernandes and I go, right, I've picked up the ball on the break. I've got Mbeumo breaking there, Cunha breaking there, Sesko breaking there. I don't mind where I play it. If I'm Spurs right now, we've got no playmaker, right? And you've got Brennan Johnson running there. You've got Tell running there. And it's not, there's levels, right?
No,
there's levels to this game. Levels.
There's proper levels, and Man United are setting the levels. And like to say that, I think the biggest thing is Bruno is one of those players who loves to be direct. He loves the directness. So when you got a player like Cunha and Mbeumo, who pretty much they're going to be running the channels. As soon as he gets on a ball, I can just imagine explode, just expand, get into those areas, and they all just start making those runs. He's going to play that pass. And he's an absolute magnificent passer of the ball. So when you look at some of those long passes and some of those chances and opportunities they're going to create, Man United are going to be dangerous. But you spoke about some of the attacking reinforcements that Spurs have needed. And there was a report that came out this morning to suggest that Spurs are actually going out there to get these attacking reinforcements in that of Rodrygo. Apparently, Tottenham have submitted an official bid for Rodrygo. The club are now waiting for a response from Real Madrid. The player is now open to leaving despite being determined to stay at the start of the summer. Now, this come out this morning, and then Bain Jacobs has come out within the last 15 minutes since we've been live to say suggestions Spurs have placed a formal bid for Rodrygo are wide of the mark. As of Tuesday morning, Real Madrid have received no bids from any club. They're still prepared to sell Rodrygo if he informs them to leave. But he's met with Xabi Alonso, didn't hand in the transfer request, so it's still an open situation. He may be staying, he may be leaving. What do you think about that, Sam? Rodrygo to Spurs, man. It just makes you chuckle, don't it?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's great for a laugh. It's one of those deals that if that came off, I think we'd all be well happy, but scratching our heads going, is this a prank or what are we? Look, I think that the moment that guy, if he does hand in a transfer request or a bid goes in, I think you'll see 2 or 3 across Europe that go in for him.
Yeah,
I'd love to say it would be Spurs. I don't think it's going to be Spurs. How many people at that age and in their peak move from Madrid to Spurs? Do you know what I mean? I think it doesn't tend to happen. Hey, if Levy pulls that off, there you go. Well done. Can't see it in a million years, mate.
Yeah,
I
can't see it happening. I'll be honest. The Rodrygo stuff is like, it's nice to live in dreamland every now and then, fantasize about potentially a huge player coming to Tottenham and changing our fortunes. Left winger is exactly what we need. We need a superstar. I've been saying with Son fully out the door, and now he's no longer going to be with us. We need somebody who can take on that mantle of carrying Spurs in the big moments, getting us into those big moments and being the face of Tottenham. We don't have that no more. And we can't force us. Seeing people say Kudus is going to be that. Well, he's got to prove that to be that. Kulu's got to prove to be that. It could have been Maddison, but Maddison's now, we're not going to see him for the next 8 or 9 months or so. So when I'm looking at this, it's like, who's going to be the face of Tottenham? We don't know. We're going to need to make that signing. The Spurs are going to have to be ambitious enough to out there to go get that type of player. Now, with Rodrygo, like we know, like you said, who's going to leave Real Madrid in the pomp of their career to come to Spurs? Now, if it's a loan, they might do it. Now, we're talking about actual sale. At this moment in time, Spurs aren't the most attractive proposition. So, can't see this happening in any case. But there was another player that was suggested instead of Rodrygo, and that was Grealish. I've heard that Spurs have been making inquiries. Now, I've been trying to find this report. I think the report may not be that good, but it was being put into my chat constantly yesterday. And that's what I've got a feeling.
I saw it.
It's going around regarding Grealish being inquiries being made for Grealish as soon as Maddison went down, or now that he's not available. What do you think of that? Do you think those are wider than mark as well, or could you see that happening?
I mean, it's more realistic than Rodrygo. Let's be brutally honest, isn't it? I'm a big fan of Grealish. I think that Grealish has got a point to prove in the world of football as well now. World Cup year. I think this is a technically brilliant footballer, and I don't think we have many technically brilliant players at the club. So for me, I would get him. He can play left. He can play centrally. Maybe he could be the answer in the number 10. Maybe given a bit of more of a free reign than what he was given at Man City. He's a serial winner, England international, senior pro, used to captain Villa. So he's got the captaincy that goes with him as well. He's very good with the press. He's very good in the changing room from what you hear from all the other pros and that. Listen, when I say I want Grealish, people think that is the only one I want. I think we need Grealish and 2 or 3 others. Like my big bugbear, Jords, I've said this to anyone that will listen. My big bugbear is that all of the forward players we've got, other than Kudus, none of them have the ability to hold the ball.
Yeah.
They're all very reactionary, direct footballers. The likes of Johnson, Tell, Odeber. These are people who get they go.
Odeber can hold the ball though, because he's pretty good. I've been when he on the dribble, he can dribble on his right, dribble on his left. He gets past players. I think he looks pretty comfortable on the ball.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when Jack Grealish gets that ball. Yeah, it is very difficult to get it off him because he's strong. He gets fouled a lot. He's got that ability to hold players off. He's got good footwork. What I've noticed is even if you look in pre-season, every time the ball's gone up front, unless it goes to Kudus, it bounces back immediately because the others just don't have that hold-up ability. Yeah. I think we need a few players that when they get the ball, their first thought isn't immediately run. That's great, but the problem is we saw against Newcastle the other day, how many times that ball went into the Newcastle half and it bounces straight back because none of them can say, all right, I'll hold it up. So is Grealish your goal guy? No, I don't think you're buying Grealish. He's going to get loads of goals. I think he'll get more at Spurs than City because I think he'd be one of the main men. But I think you're buying him for a different skill set. I think you're buying him for his maturity, his experience. And if we got him, imagine we got him on loan, an option to buy, for example. We turn around and say to him, listen, it's a World Cup year. You want to get into Tuchel's plans. Come to Spurs, be the main guy in that attacking midfield role. Have the freedom, go. He works hard. He tracks back. He tackles. He's got an eye for a pass. I don't see downside to it. It's not saying I don't want others, but I don't see a downside to getting a Grealish. I don't see it.
Do you know what it is with me for Grealish? Is one, it's a lot of his stuff is off the field antics. We all know Grealish loves a party animal, and I ain't got a problem that loves somebody that loves a party, but when that does affect your football life, and we've seen it times at Manchester City, he's been dropped from the team for not being serious, him coming in late to training, him and Foden both being expelled for the team from some short times. That leads me to believe that may not be so serious about his playing career, especially when you're at a team like Man City, where a standard set where you have to perform every single game to make the team. And we've been seeing Grealish across the seasons play less and less. What's he in now? His 4th season? It might be his 4th season at Manchester City, I think it is, because he joined in 2021. So he's in his 4th season at Manchester City, or he's going into his 5th. And in none of those years, he played 30 Premier League games. In his last 2 seasons, he's played 20 Premier League games, and the majority of those appearances were off the bench. So I'm looking at him, I'm like, his availability is a problem. Potentially a player that has a lot of injury issues as well. So we could be looking at having someone who's the same problem with Maddison. Away from that, on the pitch and his ability, it can't be questioned. Like you said, he can hold up the ball really well. One thing that he's done good for City and he's known for, and some people even complain, is he gets that ball forward and he sort of has that pause. He has those moments where he'll turn it back, but he keeps the ball. He keeps them rotating, keeps it moving. But it's just, like you said, the final third quality isn't there. I feel like if we do sign a player, and although we have Kudus and we have some of these other players, we don't have enough goal scorers in our team. I'm looking at this attack and I'm like, goal scorers, they're missing. Now, if this is a loan, it could make sense because then we can still go out there and spend money on another goal scorer and another player to play those positions. But don't you think we need someone to come into this front line to give us goals, Sam?
I do, but as I said, this is why I caveat it. This isn't the only guy I think we need. I'm bringing him in and I'm sticking him in the number 10. I'm bringing this guy in and I'm saying to him, let's see what you were at Villa. Let's see that Jack Grealish, the one that gets on the ball and gets to express himself. Listen, I'm not knocking Pep. Pep Guardiola is the greatest manager in the world, right? I'm not knocking him, but the way that Man City play, they don't almost allow for a maverick like that. You know, they are set in their way they play. Listen, yes, the number of league games, But you've also got to remember he's competing against a lot of top footballers and has always competed against a lot of top footballers. At Tottenham, he won't have that. At Tottenham, he comes in, he's one of the main men. And that's the levels where I don't think as a club we can turn around and turn our noses up at people like Jack Grealish. For me, I think he walks in immediately as our best technical footballer. He'll be the most experienced. He'll be the most decorated. He will walk in straight away as the top metric of most of these things. Get Frank as well. Frank's a very good man-to-man manager. We've seen it. He's a very good man-to-man manager. Arm around him, almost as if to say, Jack, I don't need to teach you how to play football. That's what I don't need to coach you that. I'm going to tell you what positions to be in. What I need from you is help me with some of these younger players. What I need from you is that maturity, that leadership. What I need from you is that bit of magic. I just think that when I look at what we've got, I'm so underwhelmed, Jords. I'm so underwhelmed by a lot of our midfield, attacking midfield forward options that I think we could resurrect Jack Grealish. I do. I think he's a top footballer. Just me.
I think he could be. No. I don't think it is only you. I think a lot of people think he's a top footballer and he can definitely be resurrected. Like, there's no doubt about that. I think he's in the space of his career where, like I said, technical level, he's class. And I think he needs that move to work under a team and a manager where he's that player that needs to be loved. You can tell Grealish is someone that needs a lot of love, needs a lot of attention. I think if anybody's played football, you know, you've been in dressing rooms. There's certain players that just need to be next to the manager. They need to have the manager's arm around them, constantly giving them good feedback. He seems like one of those guys, and that's fine. That's fine. Maybe he just needs a new coach, new environment. But I just need... I think with Grealish, I just need to be convinced a little bit more with the actual quality on the pitch, and it's been missing for the past couple of years. That's the only thing. But like you said there, if we're signing Grealish on top of other signings, I don't think any Spurs fan will be against it because, like you said, experience, leader, you know, the know-how of winning, he's got all that. He's been doing that, and being at City's helped him, you know, develop that more. But my worry would be if we get Grealish because he's on massive wages, we can't sign somebody else. And all of these questions and these problems, that's where I only have some hesitations about bringing him in or a player like him, you know, on these massive wages on loan. If it does have an option to buy, I suppose, like I say, it's risk-free in some sense because it's a loan, it's an option to buy, not guaranteed to come. Like I say, it's in a World Cup year, so he's got to have that extra bit of hunger to try and perform. So if he really wants to make that squad, he'll show that. But big up to Steve Reynolds, who's just come in with a super chat. He just says, big up to you, Steve, man. What are the chances we secure Grealish on loan this season? Well, that's literally what we're going through right now. I don't know the chances itself. I think it could be a high. If Spurs really want him, I don't think this is a difficult deal to get done.
No, I don't. I mean, listen, if we're talking about a loan, first of all, if we're talking about him moving on somewhere else after City on a permanent basis, then he's going to have to drop his wages. And let's be fair, I think Jack Grealish, I think for all the talk about what a bad guy is, I think he wants to play. I think he's a good guy. He's getting older now. He's got the family. Big up, Jose. I don't think it would be a difficult deal to get done. If it's a loan, we can have that conversation with City. Listen, we'll pay half, you pay half. You know, we'll pay 190, you pay 110. I'm not saying he's the only option, but what I am saying is we need, for Jords, for me, I think we need 3 players in those forward areas. 3. I think that the
someone said that this morning. It's a striker, 10 left wing, and I was like, yeah, 3 more attacking players from Spurs. Right. It's not happening. It's not happening.
It might not happen, but we need it because I've said all summer before Maddison got injured the other day, got to get a proper left winger that can teach Tellen Odegaard and a proper striker that's a different profile to Solanke. Now Maddison's out, plus Kulu's out. Spurs cannot, George, we will not, we must not go into a Champions League season without a number 10. It would be criminal. And whether that's Frank, Vinay, Lang, Levy, if they go in to this season without a number 10 fit, knowing that Kulu and Maddison are both out for a while, that is just so negligent that I can't begin to explain it. So negligent.
Yeah, we can't afford, especially with the injuries we have. No Kulu, no, and even it's good that you mentioned that, because obviously what the biggest report that did come out this morning regarding Spurs' targets from Alistair Gold was to suggest that Tottenham are confident they will have the funds to carry out their transfer plans. Frank is prioritizing both an attacking playmaker and a centre back with good level experience. So, like I said, Spurs are apparently prioritizing that number 10 and that role to make that happen for this transfer window. But I don't know if you heard, there was some news regarding that Enzo Milo yesterday. I don't know if he obviously got his confirmation that he's going to Al Ahly. Apparently, Spurs had a verbal agreement or verbal offer accepted, but didn't proceed with the paperwork and everything to get the deal done for the release clause as to why that didn't happen. The number 10 is a huge issue for Spurs. And like you've said, I think we need not just one attacking playmaker, we need two attacking playmakers. One that can operate off the wing, one that can operate in the middle. Now, if we get a player that can play multiple roles, then that's fine, but still need multiple players in that 10 position. If we had a Gibbs-White type player and then another 10, it would have been fine because you've got players that can play multiple roles.
I think we need one. I only think we need one because you've got to factor in that you will have Kulu back and Maddison at some point. So what I don't think the club are going to do is go and buy two. Then you've got four. And that's how quickly football changes. Listen, I think you can get away with one at the moment, knowing that Kudus could potentially play in there. But I think it all depends what else you buy. There's no point. Like, there's no point going to buy a number 10 if you don't go and buy a proper winger and a forward, in my opinion. I think most clubs have a number 10 and they've got a quick, nippy striker that can get onto through balls. Like when Maddison was at Leicester City, he had Vardy. Every time he looked up, where's Vardy? Where's Jamie? He doesn't have that with Richie and Solanke. They're not that type of footballer. So for me, I put up a team on my stream earlier, Jords, right? And I said, can you imagine this, right? And we're not a million miles away from this. And my team that I put up was, I don't know, actually, can you share your screen?
Yeah. Can you share? I'll share
let's see if, have you got that?
Yeah.
So I did that, right? And I said, imagine, right, what it would take to get this team done. Well, the back seven are already there, right? So you've got Vicario Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, Bentancur, Palhinha are already there. So is Kudus. So 8 of that 11 is at the football club. Now imagine you went like Grealish is a loan to save money.
Yeah.
Eze is your big signing. Eze is the one where you go out and we all go, oh, bloody hell. Thanks, Levy. Thanks, Daniel Coys.
Well, technically, that's the Morgan Gibbs White money. It's the Morgan Gibbs White money, really. So
there we go. Right. And then you go and get Wissa, who's going to be what? I reckon 40 million, who's the quick striker. Now, if you put that 11 out, right, we're talking 110 million pound in transfer fees, right?
Oh, that's cheap, yeah.
Now have a look at that. I'm not asking Spurs to go to the best clubs in the world and take their players. Grealish isn't a peak player at Man City. So I'm asking Spurs to go to Brentford and take a player, Palace and take a player that's not wanted at Man City, right? 1 on loan, 2 signings. Look at that team, right? Now, that team is a lovely team. And behind that, then I want Frank to be coaching Odegaard and Tell and Johnson for when they come in. Right? Solanke can rotate with Wissa depending on whether we need a quick striker or we need a big striker. You've then got Gray, Bergvall, Sarr all coming in behind Bentancur and Palhinha and being coached. You've then got Udogie, Danso, Vuskovic, Takai. Now, all of a sudden, if I see that, I'm going, I am completely comfortable with Tottenham.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
I'm not
I'll be honest. When I'm looking at this, it looks very realistic. And you're already selling me on this Grealish stuff now because I'm like, oh, yeah, no, if you do get Grealish for the left, there's no reason why Spurs can't invest loads of money into an Eze deal because now you don't need 2 10s. You don't need to sign another left winger for the season because you've got one on loan. And although let's just say Grealish does get injured, Eze can operate off the left as well. You've got a player that can play on the wings if need be in certain scenarios, but he will be the main number 10. Looking at this lineup, and that's a Champions League ready team. Our team isn't ready for Champions League right now when I look at 11, but that team is ready for Champions League. That's ready.
But what you've also got, Jords, if you look at that entire front four, right? Grealish can play centrally and on the left. Kudus can play on the right, on the left, and centrally. Eze can play on the left and centrally. Wissa can play up top and on the right and on the left. Right? Options. You've got options. Now imagine you're an opposition defence to Tottenham this season and you see that front four coming at you. Now compare it to Solanke, Johnson, Tell, like it levels. And I'm not asking the world. I'm not asking Spurs to go and sign world-class footballers, Galacticos. I just don't know how we can be so close, but so far away at the same time.
I feel like that's like the world of Spurs, and it's what was that thing, that quote that I see in that Levy interview? It was like mess, like in chaos, something, there's success or something like that. But it's like Spurs need some type of chaos in order to get us into a better place. And I feel like at this moment in time, it's like we needed a little bit of a mess in our transfer window to then end up with the likes of maybe a Grealish and Eze or Wissa. But we need to make moves. We need to make moves on these players. And that's where the problem lies, is because right now, especially with this Sesko stuff, whilst that's lingering, Newcastle don't know whether they still want Wissa. Vissa's handed in his transfer request. He's made it very clear he wants to go to a Champions League team. This is when you go in and you snatch that deal whilst nobody's in for him. Nobody's actually put in a concrete offer. It's like,
this is what I mean. Right now, for a club like Tottenham Hotspur, if Newcastle United and Man United can be in a bidding war for a player double the price of Wissa, how can Tottenham not go and take Wissa from underneath the noses and go, well, listen, while you were doing that, we've done this. I'm just a bit. Listen, I know everyone thinks I'm always negative. I'm not, Jords. I just want better footballers.
Yeah.
I want better footballers. That's all it is. And I look at the forwards we've got and I think to myself, are they scaring as a whole? I think Kudus is good, but are they scaring opposition defences? And I think if I'm a decent fullback or a decent centre half, I'm comfortable playing against Tell, Odegaard, Solanke, Richie, Johnson. I'm quite comfortable with it. But I don't want that. I don't want the pace of Wissa. I don't want the pace of Kudus. I don't want the trickery of Eze. Now imagine Eze and Grealish linking up together. The passing, the movement, the sliding through balls in. I just think that would be lovely.
Yeah, no, it definitely would be. And when you talk about those players all combining together, like it generally, like, it gives you a little bit of a fresh lease of life for as a Spurs fan. It's like, oh shit, yeah. This is what it means. Like, this is how it's supposed to be, you know? Have some actual technical ballers in those forward positions. And when you mentioned, you know, the likes of, you know, the Tells and the Odegaard stuff, it's like people don't realize you're not saying, and I suppose I'm not saying, is that these players aren't good. I think a lot of them are good. And Tell, Odegaard, Bergvall, all these younger players, in time, could become great players. But the problem is for Spurs right now is when you make that your focal point, that is your, you know, go-to option. Right now is just Tell and Odegaard off the left wings. If we just have those two to play off the left wing, you can't rely on either of those to get you through a season. No. So when one of them isn't performing and then the other's not performing, it's like, oh, where's the superstar power? Where's the goals going to come from? We don't know where the goals are going to come from because we don't have goal scorers, and Spurs need to sign players of those types. But other players we have been interested in, because I suppose, look, the players you put out is an ideal scenario. We know the Eze situation at the moment looks like he's leaning more on a move to Arsenal, and he's waiting for Arsenal to come together and put their bid in place. Also, the Grealish stuff, we wait and see. Wissa, like we said, could be potentially wrapped up into a Newcastle situation if, you know, especially if Sesko accepts Man United today. I think Newcastle will move very quickly on their second options, whether that be a Watkins, Wissa. I think they're going to end up signing 2 strikers to replace that of Isaac. What other players are out there that you think we should go for, should sign? Because I think one of the biggest things has been, I suppose, for this window, not for just us, but in the signing Premier League proven players. Is there any in the Premier League that you think could improve us instantly? Or do you think we're probably going to have to look elsewhere to try and pick up some of these players in those positions?
Yeah, I've got those answers ready to go. Just before I do, really quickly, I just want to ask a question to one person in your chat, if that's all right, Jords. Yeah. 146, Wesley M. I'm seeing him say a few things about me, and it's fine.
Wesley's an Arsenal fan. He's an Arsenal
No, that's
fan.
fine. But I just want to question him, right? So he said at 146, he said, Savva, whatever the team does will never be enough in your eyes, just my faults. But the thing is, when you're saying it's just your faults, you can't have an opinion on what will be enough for me when I'm sitting here telling you what will be enough for me, right? I'll ask you this, Wesley, as it stands, I'll be polite. I'm going to ask you a question. As it stands, Wesley, with the way the squad is, what do you think should be the minimum league position for Spurs? I'm not going to tell you mine yet. I want to see your answer, right? What do you think it should be? Because when you're saying it will never be enough, well, you've got to ask the question. One, what's wrong with having ambition? And two, have Spurs done anywhere near enough that any Spurs fan should say this is enough? I've literally just put my balls on the line, so to speak, and said, hey, look at this team. How good would this be? I'm well happy with that. And your response is nothing will be enough. So with the squad as it is, if the window's shut right now, where do you think Tottenham Hotspur would finish in the league? Sorry, to answer your question, Jords, I don't like when people tell me what's enough. See, I think fifth is an absolute pipe dream with those forward options, right? Seventh for me, I think, is as good as it gets with the squad right now. And this is the difference. This is where is Wesley Arsenal, right?
Yeah, he's an Arsenal fan.
Right. Okay. So I don't expect him to understand Spurs. I get that, right? Wesley, we've just lost 67 GA from our forwards. 67. George. I know you know that, George. 67.
Yeah.
Tottenham Hotspur need to find goal contributions, Wesley. To finish in that top five, you're talking about City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, right? Who I think are all shooing for that top five. You've then got Newcastle and Villa that at the moment haven't weakened, right? You've got Man United who are significantly strengthening. So there's 7 teams straight away. What part of Spurs is better than all of those teams other than the top 4? Really? So I think at the moment, this team realistically is more 7th to 9th than it is 5th to 7th. However, go and buy a proper number 10 and a top left winger and a striker. Now I'll come back on Jords' show in a couple of weeks and I'll be going, hang on, Jords. Now I don't see a reason why we can't get 5th or 6th. But right now, if anyone thinks this is the 5th best squad in the Premier League, you're having a laugh. You're having a laugh. It's very good at the back. We've got a great coach who's going to organise, but he's not a magician, Wesley. He's not a magician. He can't make players more creative overnight. He needs time with them. So sorry that you don't understand my football club. Maybe you should stick to your football club. Just saying.
No, to be fair, I think you made a very good point there. And I think, fans thinking that, I know Wesley, Arsenal fan thinking that Spurs can finish 5th right now of our squad. Thank you for thinking that we're that good. I know we demolished you the other day or dealt with you. But that's not the height of where Spurs is at. Because we beat you guys, we're not that good at the moment. And I know a lot of people think that Frank is going to help this team overperform, which he might to some extent. That is going to be limited. He's not a miracle worker. He's not going to be able to make Johnson score 20 goals next season. It's just not going to happen. We need some players that can add those contributions. We need signings. I think all Spurs fans are here to tell you we need signings. And more importantly, it's funny because me and Savva were here on this show a month ago, and we were saying to you guys, we will be panicking if Spurs haven't made attacking signings by the 1st of August. We are now panicking, people. So there should be no surprise for anyone in the chat that Spurs fans are at panic stations. Next Wednesday, I should say, we have the biggest game of our season, which technically it is. It's the biggest game of our season. It's a cup final at the start of the season. We've got to be prepared for that. Most Spurs fans are not going to be happy if we go into that game without number 10. We're going to be fuming because that's our first opportunity to put ourselves in a good situation and start the season off well. Start the season off with some silverware. So I think it's not that, we're not going to be happy or Savva's never going to be happy. We will be happy once we see something good. We just need to see some more signings. I don't think any Spurs fan will be happy with the business we've done so far. You can be happy with the 2 players we signed because I think they're good players, but it's not enough. I think no Spurs fans will tell you that it's enough. But big up to a man like SSJ Super Saiyajin himself. This is my favorite Spurs duo. I'm trying to manifest this collab more often. Definitely, man. Every Tuesday, 1 p.m. SSJ. It's on my channel this week. It'll be on Savva's next week. I know you're on my shows all the time, so you'll be here and back in 2 weeks. But make sure you head over to Savva's channel 1 p.m. next Tuesday, where you'll catch me and him doing this show. And make sure you guys are subscribing to Football Heritage TV. The link is in the description. People have also put in the chat, but if the moderators can put that in the chat again, make sure you guys are subscribed. Savva hit 20k, so he's got the big goal, but it doesn't stop him from keep rolling on to get more of the next goals. So on to the next one. Just like myself, make sure you're subscribing, supporting, and liking the video. We appreciate it, and it helps push our channels out. We currently got 390 people in the building. If we can get to 150 likes, that'll be great for the stream. But just moving it on swiftly, because we've spoken about the number 10 quite a bit and some of the creative issues that Spurs have. But like we have seen in that report, Thomas Frank did also make it clear that he wants a centre-back. What's your thoughts on that? Because I feel like we definitely need a centre-back, but he also mentioned that we're good at fullback because we have Davies, and that threw me off as well. Like, that was a very left field answer for me.
Yeah, I think it's just talking for talking's sake there. I think that Jed Spence is the get out of jail free card for managers at the moment, because he's the one that can cover both. I don't think it will be Davis covering. I think if Porro's at right back, I don't think he'll start with Davis at left back. I think he means more Davis can cover there if it gets terrible. Yeah. Which as Spurs fans, we all know is just getting a little bit boring because we've had Davis for so long. But I do think in the way that we defend now under Thomas Frank, I don't think it's as important, if that makes sense, because we are a unit at the back there. We are a unit at the back there. So for me, do we need another centre half? I don't think so, unless Dragashin's injury is worse than we thought. And the only other thing I can think of is that Van de Ven and Romero are more injury prone than people want to believe. Yeah. Because they both missed a hell of a lot of football last season. But you've then got,
for those that don't know, 55 games available, 26 available for Romero, 22 only for Van de Ven last season of the 55.
Yeah, that's not good enough. So I mean, look, you've got Danso, I think is a very good, capable centre half. You've got Takai, who we don't really know. We've got Davis, who can do a job. We've got, I mean, do we need another one? I guess the question is this, Jords. What level is that guy going to be that comes in? Because if you turn around and said, right, I'm going to buy a centre half that's better than Romero and Van de Ven and go straight into the back four. Thanks, Wesley. If you're going to say that centre half that comes in is better than Van de Ven or Romero, go straight into the back four, sure, do it. If we're buying another one that's just going to be sitting and watching, surely all we're doing then, Jords, is just building and building and building a pool of about 10 centre-backs, which means that next summer we'll be sitting here as Spurs fans going, well, we need to get rid of 4 centre-backs. So I don't know. I don't know. Is Davis going secretly? Is Romero not refusing to sign a contract? Is Dragasine out for longer than the next 4 months? Is Danso injury? I don't get it on the cold face of it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's a really hard one to sit there and judge, because it's like you say there, we got loads of centre backs, and I've also seen today the likes of Vuskovic is being pushed out on loan, so he's going to be pushed out to go get more game time to learn and bide his trade. But also, Spurs have refused and made it very clear, like they have with Mikey Moore, that he's not for sale. So we've got these young players and these young breed of centre backs that are going to be coming through, but also we currently have 4 senior centre-backs. Yes, or could say 5 if you include Davies, but Dragusin, Danso, and Davies being the backups to our first 2. The one thing that's been strange, though, is because throughout the whole of summer, we have been seeing links to Spurs and centre-backs. Like, there's been consistent links to the likes of Jan Bissek, Nathan Collins. As of recently, we've seen a lot of links to Sabani. Now, he's obviously on his way to PSG, but apparently Spurs were trying to get in on that deal. Now, that's where my question is, because I was under the impression that if we're going for a centre-back that's going to cost a lot of money, an experienced centre-back, somebody that's going to come in and potentially start, that would be a replacement for Romero. But it may be that Spurs are trying to add a quality centre-back so because they know that those two are going to miss a lot of games. And I think that's good. It's good planning. We need that to take place. But then at the same time, we can't afford to have this many centre backs on our books. So it's either Dragusin's going to be sold real soon, but he just got a new squad number. So that led me to believe that maybe he's going to have some type of impact in the team next year because you got the number 3. It's like if the lower the number you are, the more you're going to play. It's some type of that's like football in the football world. That's what they make it seem like anyway. So Dragusin looks like he's going to be back made available. And to be fair, under Frank might be a much better defender. But then you've also got Dan, so you got David. And it's like, yeah, what is going on? Why do we need another? Like, not why do we? We know why we need another centre back, but how is this centre back going to fit in with our current squad and our situation? It's a bit strange. It's hard to understand what we are going to do. And I suppose the bigger question is, if we allocate funds to a centre back, which is going to be quite an expensive one, does that take away from the attack where we actually need funds to be allocated to?
But this is what I can't understand. Like, if you listen, if we're Chelsea and we just go, well, do we want another centre back? Yeah, sure. Let's just chop money. Let's go. I get it. But right now, I'll be well pissed off if we buy another centre back, but don't buy in the forward areas that we really, really need. So I actually think that I really rate Frank. You know that, Jords. I really rate Frank. I think the way he sets the team up, we won't lose many games. I don't think we'll concede many goals. So I'm looking at it and going, are we that desperate for another centre half right now? Have we got enough to get us through to Christmas? I think we have. And I think if it takes away from what we need, like you said, I'll be really, really disappointed with the club. But they must have a plan. They must have a plan. Surely there must be a reason why they want another one. And it could be that Romero's saying, you know what? I don't want to sign a new contract. Maybe it is that. Maybe we are succession planning. Maybe the centre-back that they see as the Romero successor is available now and they don't want to miss out. If that's the case, I'm not going to knock them for succession planning, but it would be interesting to see if we buy this centre-half and then this centre-half literally sits on the bench every week behind Van de Ven and Romero. I'll have to ask the question of what was the point? We've got that. You've got Danso, you've got Takai, you've got Dragusin, you've got Davis. Vuskovic has gone on loan. Dorrington's gone on loan. Phillips has gone on. I'm slightly confused on this one.
Yeah, it's just strange, man. It's trying to actually understand what Frank is trying to do with Spurs, and the only other thing that I could think is that he wants to go to the 3 at the back. So maybe if he wants to go to the 3 at the back, then yes, we need more senior centre backs because more are going to be playing, and you're going to need to spread those minutes out a little bit more to lessen the risk of injury. So if we're looking to go to 3 at the back and maybe he feels Danso isn't at the required quality, then it might be, okay, we're trying to bring in another centre-back to compete there. But then the only other way is maybe he views Van de Ven as being the backup at left-back. And maybe he's going to push Van de Ven into a left-back position more often and bring a left-sided centre-back to play in his role, who's a bit more sturdy and maybe a bit more, defensively sound in that sense. So it's just trying to understand what Spurs are doing this window. And I feel like every window, it's a conundrum to try and know what Spurs are doing because we never know what to expect. You never know how the windows are going to play out with him. People in the chat saying Bastoni's not coming to Tottenham, just like Rodrygo is not going to come to Tottenham. He's not coming to Tottenham.
I do like it. I do like it when we reach for the. Listen, there's nothing wrong with dreaming, but let's be brutally honest. Bastoni's at a huge club. If he and listen, the way I've always said this with Bastoni. I think the moment that he's available, I think big clubs make moves for Bastoni. That's a top centre half right there. I'd love him, top player, but just can't see it. I think we've got to know our lane at the moment. Know where we can shop and where we can't. Is what it is. And
no, that's a great point you make, yeah. Because again, I hate to keep going back to the Levy interview, but he made this point, and to bring Wesley's question, I'll bring it in a second. Is we've got on the food chain. The food chain of football. Understanding your role in that chain. You've got Tottenham and Daniel Levy. He understands his role in that chain and never try go too above it, never try go too below. Wesley's asked a question here regarding Newcastle, and to be fair, I've been making a point about them understanding their role in the food chain, but he's interested to understand our takes on how the top 6 teams are seemingly conspiring to sabotage Newcastle this window. What are your thoughts on that? I think Newcastle need to understand their role in the food chain. That's what.
No, I think what's happened here. Look, fair play to Newcastle. They've gone after a few players they thought they could get, and clearly players that had given their interest to Newcastle. As I've always said, I always use this term food chain in football. They've gone for Ekitike, and then somebody's alerted Liverpool and they've gone, actually, no, we want him. Sorry, move over Newcastle. We're having him. Same with Trafford. We want Trafford. Yeah, Man City. Now, sorry, we want him. We'll have him. And this is what a lot of the big clubs do, Jords. A lot of the big clubs will wait until somebody puts in a bid and then say, hang on, we wanted that player. He's on our list. Yep. We'll have to expedite our transfer. Chelsea are the best in the world at doing that. Chelsea are the best in the world. They'll wait for everyone else to start making their move, and then they'll go, okay, cool. We'll jump in now. And it is the food chain. They've lost out on João Pedro. They've lost out on Trafford. They've lost out on Ekitike, all to bigger clubs. I don't think it's sabotage. I think that's wide of the mark. But Newcastle, for me now, need to be looking at realistic options. And if they lose out on Sesko to United, then it just shows the food chain. You can have all the money in the world. You can have the richest owners in the world. When the big boys come calling, the big boys come calling. And unfortunately, that's football.
That's just football. And it's not just football. It's the way of life. You know, there's a food chain to everything in life, just like the humans at the top of the food chain. And, you know, people don't complain when you're taking cows and chickens and you're taking from them. Just like when Man United go take from a Newcastle, they go take from a Wolves, they go take from West Ham. Nobody complains because the big clubs are doing what the big clubs do. They're giving opportunities to smaller players. When Newcastle are now struggling, and I think people fail to understand that Newcastle is a big club. Yeah, I know I joke around and I say things that they're not big, they're tiny, and stuff like that. That's rivalry aside. They're a big club, but in the sense of they're big in Newcastle, they're big in the north. When you take away that factor and you look at the whole of England, you look at the whole of Europe, they're not that big. There's so many clubs that come above them in the pecking order. So when players are looking at moves and players are looking at transfers, the only thing that Newcastle can offer above a lot of these clubs is money. Newcastle can't even offer a different package to that of Man United, Tottenham, and some of the other teams, because although they've got richer owners, their revenue and balances don't. The PSR is an issue. So that's why they couldn't even keep Isak, because Isak wants 300k a week. They didn't offer him the 300k a week. They offered him a new contract once he said, I want to leave. So if you can't compete with what the teams are offering wages-wise, then they're never going to be able to compete at the big table. You need to punch above your weight for a few years.
So, yeah, do you know what? The last sentence you said there, Jords, is absolutely it. To infiltrate that food chain, you need to be right up there for a long time, showing you can do it, which is the chicken and the egg. How do you do that without breaking the food chain? The problem is, like Ellie in the chat said, yeah, well, Chelsea and City, what about them? But the difference is Chelsea and City broke into that at a time where there weren't these rules in football. Chelsea and City spent ridiculously to make that happen. Clubs can't do that now. There are PSR rules in place. There's financial fair play rules in place, right? And everyone's got money now, right? You look at it. Gone are the days where only, like back in the day when Man City, it was Chelsea, wasn't it? When Chelsea first got their money, no one could compete with it. So Chelsea clubs would go in and go, we want 50 million for this player. Chelsea could go 70 without even thinking about it. Now, look at these clubs. Spurs can bid big for players. Newcastle can, right? Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, like PSG. There are so many that, listen, unfortunately, I'm not saying it's right, but it's the way it is. And it's like that in any walk of life. It's like that in any walk of life. You look at the world of banking, look at all these little challenger banks. Brilliant. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're never going to be the size of HSBC. They're never going to be the size of Barclays. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So you have to get there by brilliant coaching, a bit of luck, and brilliant scouting. That's the way you can try. The way we did under Poch, when we got there and then didn't quite add the layers and it all started to crumble and fall apart. So unfortunately, listen, hats off to Newcastle for trying, but that will be of no consolation to their fan base if this is yet another transfer that they fumble over the line. I reckon, like Drula said, I think they're going to end up with Nicholas Jackson. There you go. I do. I think
if
they'll
they
end up with
Nicholas Jackson. They should be fuming because I know that they're going to end up funding Chelsea for another 60, 70 million. when they're going to go fund the transfer for Xavi Simons, who they wanted early on in the window. I don't know if people saw, but Xavi Simons didn't want to go to Newcastle because Newcastle wasn't a big enough club. So they're going to end up funding Chelsea's deal for a better player for the same fee. And Newcastle fans shouldn't be happy. I don't think it's a case of, you know, Prem's conspiring and all that. I think they should be not happy at their board for poor planning. Definitely don't be happy with the board. You know, you spent 55 million on Lango, he's a good player, but you probably could have got better out there. You know, there's better players available. So you've got to
and they've
make
got
sure
no director of football. They've gone into a transfer window with no director of football.
Yes, that is it.
That. Listen, as I said, I commend them for trying. That doesn't mean I absolve their owners or whoever of full of blame. But for me, I think you've got to somewhat be realistic. I know now if Tottenham went in and put in a bid for Rodrygo, using him as the silly example, I fully expect that within minutes of Arsenal, Liverpool, PSG, somebody being alerted to, have you seen Spurs have had a bid accepted for Rodrygo? Right, okay, get on that fax machine or whatever, however they send their bids these days. Send that pigeon, there you go, bid, boom, done. And unfortunately, what that means is a player like Rodrygo goes, Tottenham, no, hang on, they're nowhere near as good as these clubs. And that's the food chain. Sorry for anyone that doesn't like it, but it is. It is
the way the cookie crumbles, as Savva says, man. You can't be mad at it. You've just got to accept it. And to be fair, it's funny because I'm sure these are the same fans or same people that won't be mad that Newcastle can outbid the likes of, I don't know, Inter, Juve, and Milan and go take their players. When those are massive clubs, those clubs are way bigger than Newcastle, but Newcastle just have the benefit of playing in the Premier League and being able to offer more money in that sense. So when it's your club, nobody's mad. But when it's when you're at the crux of it and they're taking players from you, it's completely different.
Absolutely. Okay. Look, for example, look what we've just done to Brentford with their manager and coaching staff.
Yeah.
Right? Food chain. Spurs are not as big as City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United. We're not. But we're much bigger than Brentford, right? So we go in for their manager. Their manager goes, oh, hang on, the food chain, right? That's how it works. I see, Ellie, again, you're talking about paying better wages. Sure. But if Spurs and Liverpool both went in for Isak and we offered the same money and the same wages, Alexander Isak is still going to choose Liverpool over Spurs. That's not me putting my club down. That's just bloody obvious, right? So wages, I keep seeing we pay badly. We only don't pay as well as the top top five, I think it is. Other than that, we pay better than all the other clubs. Newcastle managed to find an Isak. Newcastle managed to get Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali. Aston Villa managed to get an Ollie Watkins, right? Aston Villa managed to find people like Glenn Kamara on a free. They're not paying them extortionate wages. So I just think that the wages argument for me is a little bit lazy. I think if you've got, again, good scouts, get good scouts. That's what this all boils down to. Good scouting. Hence why Brighton are the best at it. Brighton buy a player in, right? And by the way, Phil Coy's big up, bro. I'm not saying we can't increase the wage bill, but I'm saying you can increase the wage bill. If Tottenham right now go toe-to-toe with Liverpool, I'll use this as Isak, and we both offer 300 grand a week, he's still joining Liverpool. They are huge. They are the champions of England. They are one of the biggest clubs in world football with such a winning history. He would choose Liverpool over Spurs. And I know as football fans that truth hurts, Jords. I get it. But I think when fans become a bit more comfortable with that reality, it gets a bit easier. It gets a bit easier. It does, unfortunately.
I think it's a lot easier. You definitely understanding where we're at and who we can compete for and who we can't. And like I said, I know I've seen loads of people come and chat, you're not going to get Rodrygo. I think me and Savva are well aware we're not getting Rodrygo. We just talk about it. We're just talking about it because that's the news right now. But we're more than well aware. We'll tell you first that we don't think Spurs are getting this player. But, you know, that's the news that's out there, people. So we got to talk about it. But you know, on the side of incomings, it doesn't look like there's much more happening. Not much more players that we're interested in. I think over the next coming days, we may see more stuff be triggered with this deal. I suppose just briefly on Palhinha, because obviously you spoke about him before, but with him now being confirmed as Spurs player, him saying that the reason he joined was because, you know, a call with Frank, who made it very clear he wants him, and the type of player he is, because I think, like we've all said, different type of profile, different type of player experience. He brings a lot of things that we don't have in our squad currently. Where are you at with this signing, and how that adds to our team?
Yeah, listen, I think as I said, Frank is a manager that will make us hard to beat, first and foremost. He's already sorted out the back four. You can see it in all our preseason friendlies. There's not gaping holes. No one. Mickey van der Ven hasn't had to do one recovery run, has he? Where you think his hamstring's going to snap. The fullbacks are actually playing in fullbacks and how good they look. Spence and Porro when they're playing there. And now you've added that extra layer of security on top with Palhinha. So as far as the back 4-5 with Palhinha goes, it's sorted. Palhinha brings that maturity. The boy loves a tackle. Who doesn't want a defensive midfielder that loves tackling? It's you know, it's absolutely brilliant. He said it the other day, I win it and I give it. So you've got to do for him. He sniffs danger, he intercepts, he wins the ball, and he gives it to someone who's better than him as a creative force. He's experienced. I'm glad for once it's not a child. I'm glad it's somebody that's not in nappies that's joining to play that role. I've got no problem with it. 5 million loan fee. Nothing bad to say about that. So I think it's a top signing.
Yeah, I have to agree as well. Everyone in here would know that I was all for this sign. I think it's a top player. When you look at his previous years in the Premier League, performing at a level like no other DM, you know, tackles, interceptions, he lead the Premier League by far in that sense. And when we talk about what we needed in big games last year when we were playing against big teams, is somebody able to just break down that play. When they're catching us on the transition, somebody just eat up the ball. We've been missing that type of player. I say since Wanyama, we've not had a proper defensive midfielder, a ball-winning one at that. So this is just refreshing to have that type of player on our team. I know we've looked at other defensive midfielder. I think Casado, we've recently seen Spurs with interest in him. He would have been a really good signing, I can't lie. Casado is a really good young talent for Barcelona. But again, we have young players. We have Archie Gray. To be fair, although his talent is undeniable, not the experience or the type of player that we need at this moment in time. So Palhinha was definitely the better one to push ahead with in that sense. And I don't think we can have any bad words about this deal. It's a loan. It's got an option to buy. Not a lot of money in the option. It's about 25 million. It just ticks all the good boxes. It ticks every box as to why this is a good deal. So I think all Spurs fans should be happy, but more importantly, me and Savva are definitely happy about this deal. But away from incomings, real quick, and into the outgoings, because I think this is where, and to be fair, this is what's held up quite a lot of our transfer window at the moment, because we have no outgoings at the moment confirmed. Well, obviously, Sonny now is fully confirmed with the here we go. Spurs receiving just under £20 million. It's a record fee for the MLS, and to be fair, it's probably the best time for him to go. One of the key things I did see a report I wanted to touch on today, where I saw Spurs have actually asked Sonny to stay an extra year. I think it was Spurs have asked him to stay an extra year, but Sonny, or Spurs and Frank, I should say, but Sonny felt that he wouldn't be up to scratch with regards to his declining in fitness, you know, not being able to keep up to the ability of his recovery time, and he just feels like he's not at the level where he's needed to perform for Spurs. And I really liked that Sonny took control of that decision and didn't let the club buy him back in for a year. But where are you at with that one?
No, absolutely. I think it's a shame when you watch Sonny in the last year or so. It's not watching the Sonny we know, and I didn't want it to get to a stage where we're all so frustrated with him every game. His movement, his ball control, his shooting, his crossing, it's not there anymore. Listen, it's still okay, but it's not what we knew. So I think it's the right time. Really pleased for him that he's got to move somewhere. Listen, we're better to go as the most famous man in South Korea than to LA, the most populated South Korean area in the world other than South Korea. Fair play to him. LA FC aren't stupid. They've absolutely smashed their transfer fee record to buy him, and they will make that back probably in about an hour. on shirt sales. So listen, I think all round it was right for him, right for us. But now what we've got to do is make sure that we go and sign what we need to replace him. I'll be, as I said all show, I'll be really disappointed if Tell and Odegaard are the only options for that left-sided role to, if two young kids are what we're going to replace a club legend with. Now, that doesn't mean that we should have kept Son, but what it does mean is we've got to be better at replacing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Good luck to him. I'm sure he'll do well over there. And I think it was the right time for all parties.
Yeah, definitely the right time for all parties. And it's like you said there, I think, for one, it's like having both parties. This is the first time you can say both parties are probably going to be happy about it. The Spurs get a decent amount of money for him. He gets to go to a club where he's actually made the choice of club, made the choice of the timing, and everything was just perfect. It was a great send-off the other day. But there's one thing you said there. You did say club legend. I don't know, Savva. I've been hearing rumors. The people have been floating around in the chats. They'll be going back and forth between Heritage TV and Durag Diaries. And the word on the curb was that you felt like Sonny wasn't a Tottenham legend a couple of days ago. Now, I don't know if this has changed, or I don't know if the chat is lying. But this was this. Yeah.
What I said, he was definitely a club legend. What I said was he was never a world-class player, and people got really pissed with me for that. To be honest, they're phrases that I just don't really think mean anything anyway, but people want to get really deep into it. So yeah, I said he was a club legend. But listen, I'm happy for him. But the problem is, I think it's the same thing with any club legend. You get to the stage where after a while, you're no longer a legend because you're just going downhill. We did it with Hugo Lloris. So this is the right time for me. This is what I always say in my chat. Like people who hear what they want to hear rather than what's being said and then go to other shows and go, can you believe what Savva just said? Okay.
That's exactly what it was. People were coming, I can't believe Savva just said he's not a legend. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, I don't think Savva said that. I was just like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to speak to Savva when I see him because I'm pretty sure, like, if he said he's not a Premier League legend, I think Savva will probably say that. And that's fine. Now, we can all have that argument in a different day. But say you want to be like, there's no doubt that he's a Tottenham legend. I think like
he's a Tottenham legend. Yeah, I've never had a doubt.
Yeah, like he's literally
I've always said the same thing.
Biggest trophy win in Premier League era. Like he has.
Sonny for me has always been a top footballer. Yeah. Now for me, this is only me personally. I don't put lots of players. Bang on. I was about to say that. Bang on. Let's say that. Bang on. This is for me. I think he was a player that had world class moments. I think he was a top footballer. But the ilk of player that I put into world class is the ilk of player above Son. For me, I don't know why it offends so many people. By the way, like everyone's definition of world class is different. I just look at all the players that have played in the same era as Son. He wasn't one of the best anywhere near for me, which makes me not put him in the same bracket as those players. I don't have to factor in anything. There were better footballers. That's why I didn't put him in there.
No, that's fair. So, like you say, I think for the world class argument, it's so subjective. And I mean, like so subjective to people that everybody has different rankings for world class. Like something is just top five in the world. For some people, it's all like that Danny said, you got to factor in all these different things. And for some people, it's just quite black and white. I've seen better footballers that he's not world class. It could be that. So for me, I would probably say for me, he's world class. But again, like I think he's probably only maybe a season or two of actual world class level of play. And away from that, he's just had a lot of world class moments. I think the thing for Sonny is he's had so many big moments in the Spurs shirt. That's the thing, is he always etches out, and it stands out to a lot of Spurs fans as to why they call him world class. But you know, it's a conversation, isn't it? So,
I mean, for me, the way I look at it is this, and without going, I'm not even going to bring Messi and Ronaldo into it because that's just pure pie in the sky. They're different. The way I look at it is a player that I would consider to be world class from the same era is Gareth Bale, right? Yeah. And if I want to look at Bale and Son, there's no conversation there between the two for me. If I'm picking a player to do anything, there's no conversation for me. So when I put Gareth Bale in the world-class category, I don't put Son on the same level as a Gareth Bale, right? Same with an Arjen Robben, same with people like that. If you want to start, people wanted to start having the conversation the other day about, Son versus Hazard and Son versus this player and Ribéry. And cool, that's fine. Everyone can do it. But for me, World class for me is just that undeniable player where everyone says, wow, world class. I never saw anyone say Bale wasn't. Lots of people have the argument with Son. Each to their own. Don't think it's a big deal. I know everyone wants to lose their mind over things like this, but club legend, yes. World class, just not quite for me. Not quite for me. I've seen much better players at Tottenham Hotspur than Son. That's just me. Maybe I'm old, but like Hazard. Like if you want, like Hazard had world class seasons, but overall, I thought he had a lot of patchy moments, which is why I never put him in that bit. Do you know what I mean? That bit. There were too many times where I was like, Hazard's not doing it. For me, that was the same as Son. I thought when he was on it, Son, he was on it. But was he on it enough consistently every year for me to go, you're undeniably world class? Not for me. That's it. Not for me.
No. I think it's a fair point. I think that was always an argument. We used to have this argument in the own Spurs fan base, whether he was a purple patch player or not. Some people felt like he was a purple patch player. I never felt like he was, but then a lot of people did in our own fan base. So it's like, is he world class? Is he not? Who knows? It's one of those ones. But let's see if it. One thing that Terry says a lot on Terrace, and he says, will he stand the test of time? That's the thing, really, is over time, over the next 5 to 10 years, you really start to see how appreciative people are of a player and how much respect they get. Look at the time when Dembele's left Tottenham. It's now Dembele's. To me now, Dembele's. I used to think how underrated Dembele is. Now it seems like Dembele's probably overrated because people think he's the best midfielder in like Premier League history. And I'm like, he was amazing, and I thought he was so underrated at the time. But now they're overrating him because he was too underrated.
But this is what I think we do.
And I don't want to. It might be the same for Sonny, but who knows?
I think we do this a lot with footballers. I think sometimes everyone wants everyone to be world class. And I think the problem is if everyone's world class, no one's world class. Do you know what I mean? If everyone's on the same level, then no one stands out.
Yeah.
For me, the levels I look at of world class in the last 15, 20 years, I'm looking at, obviously, the Messi and Ronaldos are undeniable. Gareth Bale is in that mix. The Anders Iniestas are in that mix. Right, I'm looking at the Robin van Persie's. Robin van Persie for me was a world class footballer. Right, I could go on and on and on from all the different leagues. Sonny for me was just that level below in terms of, you know, the one season of 20 plus Premier League goals. A world class player for me in 10 years gets more than one season of 20 plus goals. For me, world class players. For me, world-class players just do it year in, year out. No messing around. And I don't think he did. That doesn't mean I don't respect him. That doesn't mean I didn't love him. Doesn't mean I didn't think he was a top-class footballer. But just quickly, somebody said something which I think was quite interesting. Sonny J at 224. And again, George, you just mentioned there, right, about revisionism. I know you didn't say the word, but you mentioned about revisionism of Dembele, like Moussa Dembele, top footballer, but was only for a very short period of time that he did those things. It wasn't like he was doing it all his career. Now, this is where I hear this, and this is where it's not true. So when we're saying Son got mugged off with the shite players he had to play with, if he had good players around him, not kids, he'd still be here. No one talking of him leaving. Only bad since shite players around him. First of all, Sonny has not declined because of the players around him. Sonny is naturally getting a bit older, and you can see it. He said it himself, Sonny. Second of all, when you're saying mugged off with the shite players around him, Sonny's played in arguably the best period of Spurs' Premier League when we were finishing second, third, and fourth regularly with Pochettino. And he was playing with Christian Eriksen, Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Wanyama, Dembele, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Rose, Walker. So no, he wasn't playing with shite around him. He arguably played in our best ever Premier League 11. So I do think that revisionism is very, very prevalent in football fans. But I don't know why so many people are so offended by the world-class conversation. Like, say to an Arsenal fan, you don't think Saka's world-class. Jesus Christ. Oh my gosh.
They go mental. Like,
they go crazy for it. They go crazy.
I've had this argument plenty of times. That's the thing. I actually told him that he's not a world-class player. Like,
He's not world-class.
He's got a world-class talent at the moment. He's still, I reckon, like,
Agreed.
the thing is, like you said, world-class for me, when players perform across a certain amount of time and they maintain a level, it's like you've got to maintain this level. You can have a world-class season, just like Foden did the season before started. He had a world-class season, but then he dropped that level instantly next year. So he's not a world-class player. You've got to consistently perform at that level. And now, obviously, players are under a much bigger microscope now, so I feel like it is tough. But yeah, the world-class argument's always a tough one. It's always a tough one.
It is tough, Jords. But this is the thing, right? This is why I'm very reluctant to put too many people into the world-class argument. And I'll tell you why. Football fans are brilliant at this. Football fans are brilliant at this. What they want to do is they want to put a player there, right? We want to go world-class. But when anyone critiques those players in the big moments, in the tournaments, in the moments that matter, they get offended. Well, listen, if you're going to put a player there, right? Let me use Gareth Bale as the example again. It's too easy to use Messi. It's too easy, in it? Like, it's pointless using Messi. Gareth Bale, on the biggest stages, took matters into his own hands. On the biggest stages. Copa del Rey finals, Champions League finals. This man, even in games where Ronaldo wasn't doing anything, this man went, give me the ball, I'll do it, right? And you, boom, 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 and you go, Jesus, look at this man, right? The World Cup final we just had, Messi and Mbappe. It was billed, wasn't it? Messi versus Mbappe. Both of them did not disappoint. Both of them went, cool, this is us. This is our final, right? World-class footballers do this shit. World-class footballers do it more often than not. How many finals you seen Bale do it? How many finals you seen Messi do it? Ronaldo do it? These players, this is why they are put on the pedestal, because they do it. Son, for me, I can't put him in the pedestal with these footballers. I can't put him up there with those players. I don't put him up there with the Fabregases. Sorry, that's going to get me hate. I don't put him up there with the Robins. I don't put him up there with the John Terrys and the Perez's. I think he's a top footballer, but just Sonny J, you're not listening to me again. Listen to what I said. Yes, he done it against Man City. No, see when you start calling me a clown, dude. See, this is
when you no, but I think this is
Sonny,
a big. He's just a Sonny defender. That's what it is. You can tell.
This is where we get silly. I think yes, probably the end. The end of that debate when people get silly.
Stop the debate there, innit? That's where we stop the debate, man. Look, Sonny, I understand. Obviously, again, maybe how we just spoke about how Arsenal fans are about Saka. Certain people get that about Sonny, and I understand it. You know, it's a player that's been at us for 10 years. You know, for some younger fans, you literally, like a fan like me, from my younger years into my adult years, I've watched Sonny at Tottenham, so I've learned to just love and appreciate this guy.
Yeah.
But you just got to accept sometimes it's not that deep. You don't need to start calling people.
Do you know what I'd say, Jords? I think some of the younger fans have got to realize as well that where I'm a bit older, the level of player I've seen absolutely piss all over, son. This is the difference. I caught the back end of Hoddle's career, right? Yeah. I've seen Chris Waddle. I've seen Gascoigne. I've seen Ginola, right? I've seen Gareth Bale, Rafa van der Vaart. Like, these are players where I was like, wow, you are true great. Sonny, for me, top player. No one's denying that. But I just think that people get so emotional that they don't want to break anything down, and your man there's just a bit emotional about it. So
no, I think they are, especially when it comes to Sonny. But no, look, people, I think on that note anyway, we've been going on for some time. It was nice to end on Sonny, have a bit of a segment just focusing on him and his time at Spurs. And unfortunately, it wasn't focusing on how great he's been, but he's still been the argument whether he's world class, is he not world class? It's going to be one that continues to be had over the long time with him proceeding and not being a Spurs player. But look, people, big up to everyone that's been inside. This has been an amazing show. One of the best ones we've had so far. Still got 350 people inside, which is amazing. So make sure if you guys can show your support and subscribe if you haven't already. We're close. We're pushing on to 4K. We're trying to get that to the end of the month. So if you guys can help me get there, we're working. We're on like 3.25 or something like that. We was last. So if we can be on 3.3 by the end of this show, will be great. Make sure someone please put Savva's link into the chat. It's also in the description. you can't miss it. Make sure you're following Savva on Football Heritage TV live twice a day, not just once, twice every day, so you guys can't miss. Savva, when are you next going live, so they know when
I've got a transfer show at 5, and then I'm gonna give myself an evening off after that, and let my wife see me. I'm sure she probably might make me work, but yeah. And then obviously we've got a big day Thursday. Haven't we? Got Bayern Munich and I've got the Spurs 5 and. Oh, I just want some news, Jords, between now. I just want some news. But yeah, listen, thanks for having me. I always enjoy our chats. I think we agree on a lot. We disagree on a lot. And I always enjoy the conversation, man. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always a good conversation. It's always a pleasure. We will be back, guys, next Tuesday, 1 p.m. on Savva's channel, so you can't miss it. Let's Talk Tottenham. We will be there. And yeah, people, make sure you smash a like on your way out. Someone that's big up to Ghost for putting Savva's link in the chat. Make sure you guys go subscribe to Savva. Help him on his road to his next goal. What I am going to do, I'm just checking who's live. Who is live right now? Big Six Bants. Look, there we go. I'm going to send you guys over to Big Six Bants so you guys can go and raid them up. Go let them know it's a DRD raid, a Savva and Jords raid. Let them know where
I
you guys
need to see him cry. I need to see Monts, right? I need to see Monts not get Isak, because I was live with him on Never a Foul when the news broke that Isak had handed in a transfer
request.
request.
Unbearable. I know.
And he was unbearable. I
Monts
love him.
Is the
he was
worst
unbearable
person, yeah, to get a good transfer, because he's automatic. He's already, as the interest comes out, he's already unbearable. So once it actually happens, and the way Monts has been talking all year already after this league title, it's just been enough. So knowing that he's going to have this all next season, not here for it. But make sure you guys let him know, man. DRD raid and Savva and Jords raid. Let him know that. And yeah, until next time, big up to everyone that's here.